Adults and children alike were pulled from their Chicago apartments, crying and screaming during a large overnight raid that has left tenants and neighbors shaken. Quote, I've been on military bases for a good portion of my life, said Daryl Ballard, who lives in the building next door. And the activity I saw, it was an invasion. Ballard recalls seeing residents detained outside the building for hours after seeing a Black Hawk helicopter flying over the five-story building in the city's South Shore neighborhood and military-sized vehicles and agents filling the parking lot early Tuesday morning.
In the middle of the night, hundreds of armed federal agents and police, backed up by riot trucks, smoke grenades, and helicopters, breached fences and busted doors in an immigration raid on an entire apartment building on the city's south side. They pulled dozens of residents from their homes and zip ties, including children, some of them without any clothes. They then held some outside for hours and dragged the others into rented vans.
The building was targeted because it was known to be frequented by Tren de Aragua members and their associates, and two people arrested are believed to be members of the Venezuelan criminal gang, according to DHS. Now, I take that with I call a load of bullshit on that one because we can just point to very simply the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, where the federal government can just claim that you're a member of a criminal organization. They can even Photoshop pictures and spread that out as evidence, even though it was completely fabricated, and try to paint you as a convicted gang member just because you're Latino. So forgive me if I don't believe them that they claim to have found two people that were supposedly Tren de Aragua members, but at what cost did just securing those two potential members come from? What was the cost of that for the public? You traumatized kids, you traumatized American citizens.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People were screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
They zip tied the kids together.
People detained no matter their status. Tenants said it appears everyone in the building was detained by federal officers, including U.S. citizens. Quote, it was scary because I never had a gun in my face, Pertisu Fisher, who lives in the building, told CNN affiliate WLS. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me did I have any warrants, and I told them no, I didn't. Fisher said she was handcuffed anyway before being released around 3 a.m. and was told anyone with an outstanding warrant, even if it was unrelated to immigration, would not be released. So again, ICE arrested 37 people. Out of those 37, 2 are suspected to be gang members, and ICE also went there to just kind of flipping mattresses and seeing what would turn up. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a whole big nice document in which this country was founded upon, and there's this amendment called the Fourth Amendment, which doesn't allow for unlawful searches and seizures. You need a warrant to do shit like this. But we're into the new age where the Constitution doesn't mean jack squat. Ballard said that the majority of those he saw outside were black residents, and quite a few were detained for 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours. Mind you, the legal justification for, by the way, in case for those that don't know, the Supreme Court essentially granted ICE the ability to stop and detain people based off of their physical appearance. And the justification for that, per Brett Kavanaugh, and I'll play a video by Chris Hayes from MSNBC who explains it better than I can. But basically, Brett Kavanaugh said, well, if the police stop someone and it comes to find out that they're an American citizen, they'll just be let go expeditiously as soon as possible.
A federal judge sided with those victims and ended the ICE sweeps. And in her ruling, she wrote, it is illegal to conduct roving patrols which identify people based upon race alone, aggressively question them, and then detain them without a warrant, without their consent, and without reasonable suspicion that they are with status. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. An appeals court upheld her injunction against ICE. You have to stop doing this. And so the Trump administration took the issue to the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, last month, the court's 6-3 conservative majority voted to just let Trump and ICE continue for now as the case works its way up to use racial profiling in their immigration raids, halting the lower court's decision, saying, go ahead. Now, they gave no reasoning or explanation for their decision, silent, except Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote a short concurring opinion saying there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with racially motivated stops by law enforcement. Quote, if the officers learn the individual they stopped is a U.S. citizen or otherwise lawfully in the U.S., they promptly let the individual go.
We have our own case on the ground where American citizens, numerous of them, actually they probably outnumber the people who were allegedly Tren de Aragua members and undocumented citizens that lived in this apartment complex. They're being detained for several hours with no legal justification for their detainment. I believe some of them asked for lawyers and they were detained. So if the agents of the government are not willing to respect your rights, who is going to enforce the defense of the public? Because I'm an American citizen, I'm Latino. I sometimes, even though I don't speak it well, speak Spanish in public to a vendor or something like that. You're telling me if I do that, that's justification for ICE to stop me, put me in zip ties or handcuffs, detain me for 2 to 3 hours, and then when they have a sufficient response as to whether or not if I'm a U.S. citizen, then they can let me go? That's how we operate. And this is, again, these people who support these actions are the very same one with a fucking don't tread on me stupid snake hanging from somewhere in the front of their house. They were bringing the kids down to, had kids zip tied to each other. Watson told WLS, recalling trucks and military-style vans were used to separate adults from their children. And we have already seen a crystal clear case of ICE using children as bait to get people who are undocumented or even people who are just going along with the process and have paperwork to get them to come out so that they can be detained and shipped away. And what I can understand is ICE has the most funding, or will eventually have some of the most funding in our national budget. They have all this influx of surveillance technology from Palantir, and they have all this legal freeway to do whatever the hell they want. But for some reason, ICE cannot detain the actual criminals. 70% of people in ICE custody have no criminal convictions. The reason they're in ICE custody is because of either paperwork, or they crossed at an illegally, or their paperwork expired, whatever the case may be. But 70% of people in ICE detention have no criminal record. With ICE tactics in red versus blue states, the goal obviously is to drive fear in the community. Shit like this is terrifying. Seeing guys in the middle of the night with army fatigues, in armored vehicles, throwing flashbangs, breaking down doors. Who's going to fix all the things that ICE destroyed in that apartment building? I'm going to see if I can find any pictures or anything and put it and throw it in the video. But who's responsible for fixing any of that? All the American citizens who were unlawfully detained. Who deals with the consequences of that? All those kids that are traumatized, that saw that happen. You claim that the conservative Fox News right-wing arm, they love to say gang violence and all the gang stuff on the media, and you don't want the kids to see this. How are kids going to respond when they see what they think is the military coming down and taking away their neighbors? Do you think these people feel safe after that ICE operation?